And right now we have Senator Roy Blunt on the phone. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Hey, good morning, Steve. How are you this morning?
Good.
Can I get my Branson? Can I get my Southwest Missouri weather report before we go further? What's the temperature this morning?
Oh, sir, it's a chilly Bofumby kind of morning.
Actually, it's pretty nice compared to what we had, though. It's about 23. We're on our way to 49. We're going to get near 60 on Sunday. So, God's country is doing
That's
fine.
Right. The Southwest, exactly. The Southwest Missouri 55-degree.
Yeah.
Temperature change in 2 days or whatever.
That is exactly
right.
Well,
it's interesting. Day before yesterday at the early morning when we were in, it was about 17 degrees. And then yesterday it was a little bit warmer. So today, cool back again. But hot topics in Washington, D.C. We thank you for taking some time with us this morning. How are things in the Capitol?
Well, that was in with you all just a couple of days before the election. I think what I thought was going to happen happened. The potential to get more work done is still there, and I think that's what happens. But clearly the president's decision to move forward on his own was something he said just less than a year ago he couldn't do on his own, is going to make that more challenging. I think, frankly, it's partly designed just to change the subject. We already went from talking about what were voters saying on Election Day to how will the Republican Congress respond to this? Will they do something to not properly fund the government? Well, people are appropriately concerned that the president is moving forward here in a way that doesn't solve any problem and, frankly, creates lots of problems, including problems, I think, for the families that he allegedly is trying to help. I said on the Senate floor yesterday, when you're in the country because of an executive action, you can also be told immediately you have to leave the country because of another executive action that later reverses that. The law is the way that this should be pursued, and I think the president knows that. I really don't know what his motivation here is, but certainly one motivation from what happened on Election Day, and I guess the fact that we're talking about this means that part of it is successful.
We're talking about immigration. President Obama is going to address the nation tonight, I understand. And when the president refers back to Election Day, he talks about the people that didn't vote, which I thought was an interesting talk about things, isn't it?
Well, it certainly is a different way to look at democracy. It's a different way to look at those people who did participate. The turnout numbers were not that different from turnout numbers in most off-year elections where you don't have a presidential election going on. But the president would like to think that maybe somehow the two-thirds of the people that didn't vote were really for his policies, and the one-third of the people that did vote don't really matter all that much. I think it's an interesting sort of way to be in denial about how people are reacting to what you did, and then there's even the national media has tried to say, well, maybe this is really a reaction against Washington, and it has nothing to do with Democrats versus Republicans, more conservative candidates versus more liberal candidates. Two-thirds of the legislative bodies in the country are now controlled by Republicans, the highest numbers in almost a century. 31 of the governors are Republicans. There's a message there that's more than just what people thought about what was happening in Washington. But I think the new Congress has a chance to convince people that there's a better way to do this work, and it follows the Constitution, and it's public and transparent. And we just haven't had, as I said when I was in with you all the other day, the appropriations process, the fundamental setting of priorities for the country that worked one way for 200 years or so. For the last 7, those bills haven't been on the Senate floor. One of the last, except for 1 year in the last 5, the Senate hasn't passed the annually required budget. So if we'll just get back to the fundamentals of what the Congress is supposed to do, I think people will take some significant level of comfort in seeing how this process works publicly and transparently again.
We're talking with Senator Roy Blunt on the Steve and Janet Show on KRZK. We're really up against the clock.
So, Senator Blunt, if the immigration thing, the issue of people that have children born in the United States that are United States citizens, will they have to go back to what other foreign countries that their parents are from now?
Well, we'll have to see tonight. But, there are really three separate problems here. And one is how do you secure the border? And two is what are the legitimate workforce needs of the country? And three is what do you do with people who came illegally or stayed beyond the time that they were legally allowed to be here? And I continue to think, as I said when we talked a month ago, I believe, on this topic, that those last two things, people will bend over backwards to try to do the right thing, and will be pretty open about families and other things we'd all want to be open about, but only if they have confidence that the first thing has been done, that there is truly an effort at both the workplace and the physical border itself to get this problem under control. And then you can deal with all of the things that have occurred as the law has not been enforced. But you've got to have a way to secure the border first. And I think once that happens, the other two issues are going to be much more easily dealt with. And I don't think that they can be effectively dealt with until it does happen. You're just going to wind up spending another $10 billion or so on whatever the president's lenient policy that he'll, on his own, decide is the law today, as opposed to what would happen if you secured the border first, and then looked at these other questions like the one you just asked that people want to answer, but they don't want to answer it in a vacuum where the problem just gets bigger and bigger every day.
Want to apologize to Scott McCauley. We're running into his time. KRZK News Time is 7:48. We'll have your weather on the 8s. One final question here, and I need you to take about just 30 seconds or less. Is there any concern on your part, or should there be concern on Republicans' part everywhere that, hey, we have this opportunity, let's not screw it up?
Yes, I'm very concerned about that, and I think a lot of what the president is doing right now is laying a carefully laid political trap, hoping we'll take the bait and let him change the discussion from the big issues that affect the country to whether or not the Republicans are going to do things that people will not be for, like those bills on the floor, cutting costs, looking for programs we can eliminate, not having a discussion that we know we're going to lose. And I think the president is more interested in that at this moment than he is solving any particular problem, and that's another missed opportunity on the part of the president of the country. Republicans have a chance here to run the government in a constitutional, conservative, here's what the federal ought to do, and here's what it shouldn't do kind of way. I hope we take advantage of that opportunity.
Senator, I hope you get to come back to God's country soon. I hope you have a great day. Thanks for visiting with us.
Looking forward to it. Always better when I'm home, and always glad when I get a chance to talk to the two of you. See you soon.